This is my recently acquired Morgan three-wheeler 1934 with a matchless V-twin water-cooled engine, and a magnificent machine it is indeed. And this is today, just back from the weekly motorbike ride with a bunch of my friends. When I first got it and it arrived here, you'll see a video clip of that, it was making an unusual mechanical noise, and that turned out to be the tail of the clanking tail shaft or prop shaft. So there's a disturbing clanking noise that was coming from the transmission tube, which is a backbone of the chassis, and the prop shaft center bearing retention sleeve was missing. I found that, and you'll see that in this video, and that was fixed by putting a captive sleeve over the bearing, just like this, which solved the problem nicely. So let's have a look at a video of the vehicle when I just received it, and you'll hear this unusual mechanical noise. So the engine was actually running quite sweetly in that video, and the noise that you heard, the unusual mechanical noise, the clanking, that's the problem that we're looking at in this video. It's the center bearing knocking on the transmission tube. Now this car was magnificently rebuilt in England by an engineering company, and they did a fantastic job, but it seems that there was something left out which caused this problem. And in fact you can hear it in the shakedown run of the car, and that's in this little video clip that I'll put in the description box for you to click on, off to the Morgan factory in the snow. And you'll see that when the gentleman puts his foot in the clutch to put it in gear, the mechanical noise reduces considerably, and then when the foot is raised off the clutch in order to take off, that noise comes back. And that appears to be the same problem in that video clip I just showed you at my location, on the very occasion of me taking delivery of that car off its trailer. So I'll first look inside that transmission tube to show you what's in there. This is the front part of the prop shaft, if you like, which comes from the clutch splines here at the front of that shaft at the engine end, and that drives through to the rear part of the transmission tube, and there is a dog gear to join with the gearbox input shaft. This is about 2/3 of the way back in the transmission tube, which I'll show you in a moment. And that input shaft has the center bearing on it, and that was knocking against the transmission tube because it didn't have a sleeve that was required in the transmission tube that was absent. So let's have a look at that transmission tube. This is the transmission tube, which is also the backbone of the chassis really, and it goes from the clutch and engine at the front all the way through the back to the gearbox in the center of your screen now, and the center bearing is somewhere around about here. Now there is supposed to be a sleeve inside the tube, and that's what was missing, and I have diagrams I could have shown you, but I think they're copyright issues, so take my word for it. There's a thin sleeve in here which is required in order for the center bearing to be held tightly, and that was missing. And this is the old feeler gauge trick to try and save the gasket by keeping it to one side or the other. And that has pulled out quite well. Not what I expected. I thought that the bearing was going to be floating around there, but now I can look and see what's happened. So I found the problem rather quickly. This is the center bearing, and it's 57 millimeters approximately outside diameter, and the tube, as expected, is bigger than that by a notable amount. Part 2 of that is coming just now. Part 2 of the problem is there's the prop shaft, which matches the input shaft of the gearbox, and there's no collar in the tube to hold that bearing, and we can demonstrate that with a rod that is long enough. And if I put that down there, smooth all the way until it touches, and where it touches is actually at the other end of the prop shaft. So there is no collar in there to hold the bearing, and so the bearing has been thrashing around and causing all that problem. Can't see a collar further down. I put an endoscope down there, and there's no evidence of it having broken up, so I think the collar was missed out on assembly. And just to confirm the issue, that's the shaft in, and the bearing is just moving around on the outer. It's not engaging with the outside of the tube when I move the shaft. And so that's been thrashing around. So just over 60 millimeters for the inner diameter of the transmission tube. And luckily I found a piece of exhaust piping which is exactly the right thickness of metal, a little bit big diameter, so I'll be putting a split in it, which I think I'd want to do anyway. I've cut a split to give a very neat fit both ways, and if I can make that wrap around the bearing, then we should be in business, but I'll have to put flanges on it to stop it from slipping off the bearing, and also so that it can be extracted. And as you imagine, I've got a fair bit of honing to do to make it all fit. So I've reduced the amount of honing I need to do by making the tabs I'm going to need later. These for extraction in a few years' time perhaps, and these to make the bearing stay in, as you'll see. Now I only have to hone here because I've pulled these tabs out just a little bit. When they're fitted they'll go inwards, especially at the front. I don't think I'll tack weld these, I think they'll be strong enough, and this gap will pull in as it gets pushed into the tube. So hopefully that bangs into the tube, taps into the tube, and holds nicely so that the bearing is well held on the outside. So that's it about ready to go into the car. I've polished the outside here after taking a bit more material off, and so I think the fit will be okay. And you can see that there's a bit of wear here, seen if I go here, and that's probably because of thrashing around the original problem, but also the fact that this was totally dry. There was no grease on this coupling, and I think I need to rectify that. And this is just to illustrate that with small taps and a hammer, this is going in quite nicely, so it should be able to come out quite easily next time it has to come apart in 50 years' time, hopefully. So I'm pleased to say that that work solved that problem quite nicely. There's no particular noises coming from the transmission tube anymore. However, first and second gear make loud whining noises, a bit like an English lorry of the same era perhaps. And you can hear that in the related video reel from Facebook of the car coming back from the same trip. In second gear, it's quite noisy. So I'll show you now a quick video of the inside of the gearbox so you can see what's going on there. The input shaft, and it drives the lay shaft through this gear. This is second gear, this is first gear, this is reverse, and third engages by sliding this cog across, and there's a dog in there that does that. And the condition of the gears is not too good looking for second here, and first. Third doesn't matter so much, so there's a little bit of pitting there on the teeth. That explains the noise and some problems with the teeth. Now, the Morgan Three-Wheeler Club in the UK, which I just recently joined, they sell a complete set of gears at a very reasonable price, and I'm tempted to do that. But I think I'd like to learn how to use this gearbox nicely before ruining a brand new set of gears. There's quite a bit of challenge but reward in driving these cars because there's that crash gearbox at the rear of the car, and that whole shaft from the engine back to the gearbox acts as a large input shaft to the gearbox, and that means that double declutching becomes extremely important because you've got to synchronize that shaft to the gears as you engage them. Quite challenging, quite rewarding to drive. It moves along very nicely, this little car, and is going to provide me with lots of fun to come. Thank you for listening.